Let's move on to midfielders because, George, it looks like the James and Maddison transfer is heating up. And I'm very excited for it. And I think most Spurs fans are excited too. So what's your take on James? Because I honestly think he did a world of good at Spurs.
He's for me. I think is like one of the main, like it has to be one of the main top targets, and I understand that. Obviously, centre back is a big priority because the defence needs changing. But look, we still haven't replaced Ericsson from when he left. We even had a chance to replace Ericsson with Ericsson, and we didn't do it. So we still need that number 10, that sort of attacking midfielder. And again, like, look, it's such a crucial position for Ange's system because these guys, these attacking eights or number 10s, however you want to call them, they're used to provide goals and assists. And I think James Madison has both of those in his locker all day long. You've seen that with Leicester, and that's in a poor Leicester team as well. As well as that, there was obviously like the only, I guess, not negatives, but what you could say is that, he hasn't been able to break into the England team. Yeah, those issues with not getting in because of Southgate. But look, he's getting in there now as well. So he still wants to be an England international. You've got the Euros coming up next year. He's 100% going to push a move to get back in the Premier League. There's no way he's going to stay in the Championship with Leicester. I know Leicester are playing hardball, but at the end of the day, they've got no wiggle room in this with 1 year left on his deal. So I'm actually genuinely really confident that we can get a deal done. As much as obviously Newcastle are, I guess, main rivals to try and sign him. They just spent 70 million on Tonali. They're after Livramento in defence now. I understand they've made the money at the moment, but at the end of the day, are they willing to splash another 50, 60 million on another midfielder when they've already got Bruno Guimaraes and obviously Willock and Joe Linton's doing well? I don't think that's a priority for them, whereas it is for us. So I think if we can be quite shrewd in our business, and as we were talking about the centre backs, get them on these better deals rather than getting a 50, 60 million centre back, then 100% we can go in for James Maddison. And I think it'll be the perfect midfielder for us.
Definitely. And I think when Bentancur's back to full fitness, Jay, I think he'll complement him very well. And the fact that obviously James looks like he's open to joining Spurs over Newcastle, because I think he said that he's preferred to be down south with family. So that being said, it looks like it could be in our favour.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is we're gonna have a midfield three for the first time in 6 bajillion years. So whoever, we're actually going to have a chance to see a number 10. I know I had a lot of, and I've been on this podcast many a time last season, having a gripe with people saying that we should sign Madison when Conte was manager. And I was just saying, well, there's just no point because we can sign a number 10, but Conte's always going to play him in a midfield too. He's never going to play in the 10. So what's the point? But with Ange, it seems like a great bit of business in the sense of if we get it done. However, I really am cautious of Leicester playing hardball and us then dragging it out and then it being similar to the Trossard situation where it seemed like he was coming our way and then someone swoops in when they realise what the price that Leicester are actually willing to pay is, offer Leicester the money, and then he's off somewhere else. But yeah, I think he's a good player. Obviously, you've got the old. He's going to have to go back and delete some of his tweets that he's done over the years. I know they did that announcement with Matt Doherty, but I think they might have to do that again with him. That's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. But professional footballers will play for anyone 9 times out of 10. It only takes the real strong-hearted to not play for a team they don't particularly like, but. He seems like he just wants to play in the Premier League. I'd be surprised if he picked us over a European club, but if he wants to play for us, I think Kane will be a factor in the deal as well. I think a player like Madison would really complement Kane and give Kane a bit more freedom because I think Kane's problem is that he doesn't trust the players behind him to put the balls through. So he goes and does them himself, and then he just needs to pass them to himself. But with Madison, obviously, he's got that ability. So he'll be able to thread those balls through to Kane, and he'll score 35 goals next year, sign a new deal, and win us 2 trophies. So, then he's the best striker. Then he's the best striker of all time, according to people, because he won a trophy. So
I'm feeling a bit of a stinginess there, Jay. But you're right. I mean, I think with Madison, it will open up Kane to be Kane. Kane is Kane anyway, but it allow him to have a bit more freedom to go do the business up top and get a few more goals. I mean, Wes, I want to get your thoughts on Madison. Obviously, we've spoken about Leicester playing hardball, but it looks like they're willing to bring down the money that we're going to offer them. So in that respect, it almost seems like this could be heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think if Leicester stayed up, this deal is a lot more complicated. I think we're trying to act now because Leicester went down, and all of a sudden we're paying for a Championship James Maddison, as opposed for a Premier League James Maddison, which is a completely different conversation. I think Maddison adds near enough everything we've been missing. He adds creative guile. His eye for a pass is unbelievable. Goals, assists from that sort of 10 spot. I think Jay's right in the sense that he lifts a bit of a burden off of Harry Kane, who must have the world's worst back because he's been carrying us for God knows how long. And yeah, loves a free kick as well, by the way. We don't have many of those free kick specialists in the team. And he didn't mind a goal against us either, to be fair. So if we sign him, he ain't scoring against us. So I'll take that. Yeah, listen, I think as a person, I think, don't get me started on him because I just think I wouldn't say he's a wrong un, but he's very, very sure of himself. But yeah, I think as a footballer, he's brilliant. I would put him up there in terms of probably one of the most similar sorts of players that we've seen to Jack Wilshere, and whatnot, in the way that he moves with the ball and things like that. Yeah, I think the whole him preferring to stay down south. Obviously, he's got a young family. Him and his partner have not long had a child, so I think obviously his preference would be to stay there. But I think if Newcastle do come knocking on the door with a Champions League football and the money as well that they can offer, yeah, I think it might be a tricky one for us. And I think I've said this before, if not on this show, on a different one, whereby Tottenham aren't in a position to chuck an extra 20-30 grand a week at somebody to almost as a sweetener for not being in Europe, like potentially Chelsea are able to, and things like that. So yeah, but listen, if we get Maddison in, I think every Tottenham fan is automatically buzzing, and I think it's a bit of a statement signing as well. A player of real quality coming in. I think we probably should have got him from when he was at Norwich, to be fair. Because again, anybody that had seen him at Norwich knew sort of what he was about. I think the price then was, I think he went to Leicester for about 24 million, and Levy being Levy didn't want to pay it at the time, but we could have already had him and he could have already been doing the bits that he's been doing for Leicester, but in a Spurs shirt a lot earlier. So but listen, if we're going to act now and if our time to act is now, then we've got to make it happen 100%, because yeah, he's a player that elevates the team. And all of a sudden, you've got other danger men. We've still got Kane, we've still got Son, we'll have Kulu, and then you add into the mix Madison. You're looking at that sort of front line. You go in, it's a bit tasty. That I fancy watching this every week.